You ever go back to an older game and wonder how in the world you ever finished it as a kid? That's what this most recent playthrough of Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell brought to my mind. I know that my Let's Play series for it would suggest that I got through the game fairly easily, but I made edits to quite a few of the checkpoints because I figured people wouldn't want to watch the failures. That said, I did finish the standard game, and I don't think I'm going to worry about the Xbox bonus missions for this review. Because when I actually beat Splinter Cell as a kid, I played it on GameCube and those missions weren't available. I do like the Xbox version, however. I went through it a few years ago when they made it backwards compatible. I actually streamed it, and sadly I don't have any of that footage anymore. I do miss some of the cutscenes and mission choices they made from the GameCube version. Anyway, to talk about the game brings back many old memories and some not so old. In the newer discussions I have had with some of my friends, we talked about how that since Konami is sitting on Metal Gear and Kojima is gone.
Really?
Yep.
It's only me.
And Sam Fisher has been dragged through the mud.
Good Lord. Who's that?
Making all kinds of guest appearances in Ghost Recon, Rainbow Six Siege, and even mobile games. We have no real stealth heroes left. Not any that myself and some of those childhood friends admired. We really dug on Splinter Cell and Metal Gear and had lengthy conversations about those games over the phone. Splinter Cell for me as a kid was an amazing game. I remember the first time I got to play any of it. I played it on my uncle's GameCube. I remember the sounds and feel of the training room and getting through it for the first time. I just knew I had to have the game. Little did I know how hard this game could be. Like I said at the start of the video, going back to this game now, I'd see how there's practically zero margin for error, which can be tedious and at the same time rewarding. It's almost like a puzzle game in a sense. You have to figure out the perfect way to navigate Sam through the missions to avoid detection, or you have to know which enemies to eliminate or leave standing. And I think that still holds up today, especially against the myriad games that get cranked out and fixed later. It's refreshing to play old games and see them just work and not be worried about running around giant maps, chasing collectibles, or doing fetch quests. Splinter Cell is to the point, into the mission and out, onto the next, and that can really be a huge breath of fresh air compared to modern games. Visually, Splinter Cell is certainly not the most beautiful game ever, but playing it on an Xbox Series X felt really good. The frame rate is good, the anti-aliasing is great. There's no forced effects like motion blur or bloom, and the game has style.
What was the hardest part of the job?
Without a doubt, animation. The decision was made that they didn't want to use mocap. They wanted a more artistic feel, so it's all done by hand.
And I think that artistry is what keeps the visuals as engaging as they are today. The level design, however, can kind of flip-flop, with some areas feeling better than others, which is more about realism than looks, because visually they all stand apart from one another, so you always know where you are, and some of the areas have a beautiful 2000s look to them. I don't know how to explain it, but something about the levels in this game just look awesome to me. Probably definitely nostalgia blinders. The game has a pretty good attention to detail too, like the oh so famous fish tanks where you can shoot a hole at a certain level and watch the water drain out. Glass bottles break when shot, and a huge part of the gameplay loop is to shoot out light bulbs to keep yourself in the shadows. And I still find myself testing that ability in games to this day, usually being disappointed. The music and atmosphere feel gritty and amazing, the sound effects are pretty good. But again, not the best there ever was, which is always going to be subjective anyway. The story isn't the most impressive story ever, which is another discussion I have had with friends, is that video games for adults have gotten a lot stronger, especially story-wise. Just look to The Last of Us or Cyberpunk 2077 for examples. Games that, if you are willing, will take you on an emotional roller coaster ride. Splinter Cell is mostly a story of a man doing his job and doing it very well, saving the world in the process. Typical action hero kind of stuff, but relatively grounded, so it feels pretty realistic, especially in comparison to the zany adventures of Solid Snake, but we'll get to that. So yeah, 20 years later, I think Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell holds up really well, and if you're a younger gamer looking for something old school, or even an older gamer looking for some nostalgia, I would say check it out or revisit it at the very least. It could show you how much games have changed over the last 20 years. Thanks to my patron, Swift Logic, and thanks to you for watching if you made it this far. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, remember to be safe and be good. I hope to catch you in the next one, which will probably be Metal Gear.
Metal Gear? It can't be.